in your mind, if Donald Trump became president again? What would a second Trump term look like?
Fundamentally, a second Trump term could mean the end of American democracy as we know it. And I don't say that lightly. We all witnessed him trying to steal a democratic election before and going to historic and unconstitutional lengths to do so. And that just shows that he's willing to basically break every barrier to get into power and to stay into power.
To this day, he still doubles down on the fact that he thinks that the election was stolen and fraudulent. And then his rhetoric has just gotten increasingly erratic. I mean, he has literally called for things like doing away with parts of the Constitution, wanting to weaponize the DOJ to enact revenge on his political enemies.
The fact that he feels that he needs to lean into being a dictator alone shows that he is a weak and feeble man who has no sense of character and integrity and has no sense of leadership.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and Wikipedia defines a cult as a relatively small group of people that is typically led by a charismatic and self-appointed leader who tightly controls its members, requiring unwavering devotion to a set of beliefs and practices. So when you have three key players from the Trump administration who fit many descriptions of what a cult member is, one should take note.
What scares me as much as him and his retribution is the almost cult-like following he has over his most diehard supporters. The threats, the harassment, the death threats that you get when he targets you, and he's deliberate in targeting, is really horrifying and has no place in our American discourse, and it's unlike anything I've seen in the decades plus I've been in politics.
Cassidy Hutchinson, Alyssa Farah Griffin, and Sarah Matthews joined ABC's Jonathan Karl at the end of December. They spoke about their experiences cooperating with the January 6th committee and shared their concerns for democracy. Hutchinson said that this was a fundamental election to safeguard our institutions and our constitutional republic. Alyssa Farah Griffin explained that another Trump presidency would be the end of our democracy. Sarah Matthews pointed out that Donald Trump's rhetoric has become increasingly erratic, and he's pointing out threats to undermine parts of the Constitution and weaponize the Justice Department against his political opponents.
He knows how to use government better this time. He can put in diehard loyalists who can weaponize every level of government against his detractors, against the American people, against the media. It's almost too scary to fully wrap your head around what it could look like.
The American people and people in general have short memories, and so they might forget the chaos of the Trump years. And also they might not just be paying attention to what he's saying now and the threat to democracy that exists. And so it does really concern me if he makes it to a general that he could win. And so I'm still hopeful that we can defeat him in the primary, but we're running out of time.
These three ladies are speaking out because they saw the error of their ways and were willing to help themselves get free from the mental manipulation of Donald Trump. The reason that Donald Trump loves the undereducated is because they don't question him. They are blindly loyal, and he uses that to his advantage. Griffin, Matthews, and Hutchinson are sounding the alarm that needs to be sounded. Donald Trump is a clear and present danger to democracy. His brain-dead cult followers are enabling him, and his loyal members in Congress are empowering him. When we hear the word cult, characters like Jim Jones or Charlie Manson come to mind. These were characters that were able to deceive others into doing things that rational-minded individuals would never consider doing. The Manson family was responsible for horrific crimes that had Los Angeles residents living in a state of constant fear. Manson, who was accused of ordering the killings, was not physically present at the scene, but a jury still found him guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy. The defendants in the case staged wild outbursts during the trial. It was a media circus. And we all remember the tragedy in Jonestown, Guyana. Jones and his group of followers moved to Guyana to start their own settlement. Jones saw his settlement as a socialist paradise and a way to keep out of the public eye. Jones was apparently doing some dirty dealings of his own with shipments of firearms and drugs and didn't want to attract attention. Jones eventually led a mass suicide at the encampment. It was a tragedy. This is where the term "don't drink the Kool-Aid" comes from. Cults have been around for centuries, and the one thing that they share is adoration and devotion to their leader. Donald Trump and his cult are a threat to our way of life. These three ladies are spot on in their assessment, and that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.